Rafe Hadelman-Koo. Rafe, sorry to keep you. Well, I know you want to talk about the grooming gang scandal, the rape gang scandal, and we will do that after the break. But I wanted to get your take on Angela Rayner's, in my view, absolutely sickening resignation speech today, and the revolting spectacle of all the Labour lackeys, including the cabinet, all packing into the Commons to listen to their working class hero failing to apologise for dodging tax and then trying to lie her way out of it. You'd think that she was being beatified rather than having to say, I was forced to quit because I dodged tax and then I lied. Let's have a quick listen to the speech.
The last few weeks have been incredibly tough on my family, with my personal life so much in the public eye. But I've always believed in the highest standards of transparency and accountability. And it is what the public expects, and it is the price we pay for the privilege of service. That's why I referred myself to the independent adviser and gave him access to all of the information he needed. I am, of course, corresponding with the HMRC, and they have my full cooperation. There is no excuse not to pay taxes owed, and I will do so. This was an honestly made mistake, but when you make a mistake, you take responsibility.
Yeah, Rafe, well, first of all, you could hear in the background Labour MPs and cabinet ministers, cabinet secretaries cheering her. What she didn't mention, I take responsibility for my actions and honest mistakes. She's not mentioning the fact that when she got caught, for that is what happened, she got caught red-handed trying to dodge stamp duty tax, the correct amount of stamp duty tax on her new £800,000 flat overlooking the sea in Hove in Sussex. What she didn't mention in that speech, by the way, no apology whatsoever, what she didn't mention is when she got caught, she said, well, what it was, I received very bad advice from my solicitors, who gave me that, told me I didn't need to pay that. And the solicitors, I said at that time, you wait, tick-tock, tick-tock, those solicitors who did the conveyancing, who organised the purchase of this flat, I said, they will come out of the woodwork fairly soon and say, we did no such thing as give her any advice at all. Lo and behold, they did. She said, we didn't give her any advice, so she lied. She's not mentioning that. Not mentioning the fact that actually she had to resign from being Deputy Prime Minister and Housing Secretary in shame and disgrace. As I say, you'd think she was being beatified rather than having to admit she'd done terribly wrong and wrecked her career. It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you started off saying it was revolting. That's exactly what it was. It was an appalling piece of amateur dramatics. And and everything, it was a meaningless stream of slop. She portrayed herself as a martyr, you said, being beatified, and there she was, surrounded by all these devoted Labour acolytes who literally were looking up at her reverentially, like she was, I don't know, Joan of Arc, going to the stake.
That's right.
But I don't think St. Joan ever used words like Tory scum, so I'm not sure whether how suitable that is. But no contrition, there's no humility, no sense of guilt, but, riddled with her hypocrisy. And yes, I take responsibility for my mistakes. Really, dear? You only took responsibility because you got caught.
Exactly.
And then just goes, I paid my taxes. Yeah, you only paid your taxes because you got caught. I mean, this is what's crazy. And she made no mention, of course, this is another thing I think people must remember. She made no mention of the severance payment she received.
Yeah, £17,000. That's right. That's
£17,000. Thank you very much. That will do nicely.
Yeah, for having to resign, to having to quit in disgrace, she gets 17 grand. And this, of course, when she was a Labour backbencher in opposition, or I think she was a frontbencher, she was very big on campaigning for ministers and secretaries of state who had to quit for breaking the ministerial code, not getting any payoffs. She absolutely disgracefully broke the ministerial code, and in her case, she was fully prepared to make an exception and take the 17 grand payoff. Absolute disgusting hypocrisy, and I think people are so sick of this about the Westminster mob. You know, the way they preen themselves, the way they act as if they're, you know, holier than thou, where in fact so much of Westminster is just a sort of self-serving cesspit, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the hypocrisy, calling out people who take severance pay, voting against it, and then taking that money herself, pocketing that cash. But she then had the audacity also in that speech to speak about her socialist principles. Excuse me, love. The whole sorry episode was about her capitalist property portfolio and tax avoidance. I'm not sure that sounds very socialist to me. Well, actually, it does sound quite socialist to me. And then she, of course, she failed to mention her deception, you know, all the lies that she was about getting bad advice. And the whole speech was actually a desperate attempt to try to slither out of that hole she had dug for herself, claiming that the whole thing was actually the fault of tax law. It's ridiculous. You know, she was found by the Prime Minister's ethics advisor to have seriously breached the ministerial code and not to have followed the guidance she was given, which told her to seek higher levels of advice.
Indeed. So there you go, another piece of Westminster rancid theatre. Your thoughts, folks, 03444 991 Of course, now she's in disgrace. It could be probably as many as 6 weeks before they reappoint her to the cabinet. Watch this space, seriously. The scandal doesn't last long in politics. Ask Peter Mandelson, who'll no doubt be back for some senior role very soon as well.